Started making coffee at Starbucks, and my girlfriend broke up with me to be with a rich guy. So I had to find a way to get back at her. And the best way to get back at her is to get rich.
Our guest today is a renowned day trader and entrepreneur who made $1 million in just 55 days trading, accumulated over $8.7 million in verified brokers. Alex, welcome to the show. Most you made from one day in trading.
AMC, 700,000 a day.
Do you have any cool success stories that you've heard of members of changing their lives?
So many. We have one guy, Gavin, who was a train conductor, ended up quitting his job, making $300,000. What we do is our successful members.
Wow. And can you explain the difference between the filing aspect and the chart reading for beginners out there?
It's a great question. So
welcome back to the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness. Guys, of course, we appreciate you tapping in. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Live on Snapchat, exclusive content, 150,000 followers. Keep them coming. We love you guys. The merch is live, mbhtv.com. Support the boys. We got all the show merch on there as well. You guys know what to do. All right?
Get the speed shades.
We're going to go fast, boys.
Guys, our guest today is a renowned day trader and entrepreneur who made $1 million in just 55 days trading small cap stocks. He has accumulated over $8.7 million in verified broker statements and has been teaching day trading education for 6 years while scaling his platform, My Investing Club, to incredible heights. Alex, welcome to the show, brother.
it's good to be here, guys.
Pleasure,
We had a little shot before, got a little bit warm.
Tequila's awesome, man.
Right? Rock and roll. Shout out rock and roll. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yes.
I really want to make this educational for our audience because we haven't really had an expert in your field before. So I think this is key.
Sure.
Even starting from the basics. What I want to get into right away is before we get into your stories, you recently made the move to Miami.
Yep.
Right? Why did you make that move? Because we talk about it all the time. We're here a lot now. So we get questions as to why Miami? What's the big deal there?
Yeah. So fun fact, I actually moved yesterday. So yesterday
we got you. Popped your cherry right away.
Yeah, right here. So for me, the reason I moved to Miami is I think Miami is a new LA.
Okay.
I think it's the new hub of creators, content, money, wealth, everything. Yeah. So I'd rather make the move sooner rather than later. Also, I still think there's a lot of growth to be made here in terms of real estate investment. If houses in Malibu are going for $45, $50 million, why can't places here go for the same? Mm-hmm, so sure. I think it's still early, and I think a lot of people are going to come here.
Yeah. And you said it's the new LA, right? And we've been saying that too a lot. There's a lot of creators coming. Do you believe that it doesn't really matter what field you're in, that you should make the move to Miami if you're looking to succeed more and grow more?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. If this is where the future is, why would you not be here?
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about all the outside of the creators, we're talking about the smartest people when it comes to like wealth management and finance and money as a whole. If they're long this city, just follow the money. It's what we always say, right? Yeah.
It's like what you were mentioning before. Ken Griffin from Citadel just bought a bunch of land here. They're trying to make this the new financial capital potentially.
$600 million worth of land, like literally 2 blocks away from here. Yeah. So
we just have to promote Miami.
We're big Miami guys.
To Miami, you know. But let's talk about your story a little bit because you obviously weren't as successful as you were in the past today. You had to go through shit. Yeah. You know, you had jobs. You worked a 9 to 5, right? Now you work for yourself, make a lot of money, do well for yourself, help a lot of people as well. So talk to us about, where it all started.
Sure. So funny story. I've been trading for about 10 and a half years now.
Okay.
I started when I was 19 years old and I was a barista at Starbucks making coffee.
Wow.
So I started making coffee at Starbucks, and what happened is my girlfriend broke up with me to be with a rich guy. So I had to find a way to get back at her. And the best way to get back at her is to get rich. Started doing research. What are the fastest ways to make money in America?
Okay.
Real estate and the stock market.
Okay.
The problem is real estate has such a large barrier to entry. Unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, you can't do it. True. But the stock market, you could open up an account with as low as $500.
Okay.
So that's what I did. Okay. And then when I started, I had this magical, mystical talent. Every single time I bought a stock, it would go straight down. Straight down. Straight down.
What a talent.
So I lost money. I lost money my first year. Okay. And then I discovered something called short selling, which is making money when stocks go down. So I said, this is perfect.
Okay.
If every time I buy a stock, it goes straight down, instead of hitting the buy button, if I hit the short button, I'll be rich.
Okay.
My second year, I broke even. And by my third year, I started making money.
Okay.
And by making money, I mean like $100 a day.
And do you remember how much you lost that first year of not making money?
So I was making around, I think, $500 a week at Starbucks.
Okay.
And I was probably refilling account after account after account. And it got to the point where I was like, you know what? Like, this is my last try. So what I did is I sold the rims off my car for $2,000.
Come
That was my
on.
last try. I said, that was it. If this doesn't work, I quit.
Okay.
Sold the rims for $2,000. Then that eventually, over time, grew to $10,000, grew to $30,000, grew to $100,000, grew to
Okay.
$1 million. So that is kind of that last bit of, I guess, desperation is what gave me the, I guess, the push that I needed to actually take it seriously. Because before that, I felt like I was treating it like gambling. You know, I didn't have a strategy. I was just throwing darts and hoping that one of them would stick.
Okay.
But I needed to have a strategy, something that was repeatable, something that I could show up, look for every day, like a pattern.
Okay.
And then that's kind of what gave me the success that I needed.
Okay. And then how were you educating yourself at that point on stock trading?
Yeah, so I was watching YouTube videos. I was watching, because back then, like, because I was so motivated to get back at her, it almost became like a passion of mine to like learn how to get better in the markets, right?
Okay.
So it was like, for example, like I love cars. It's very easy for me to like learn and watch about cars. The same passion that I had about cars, I had about the stock market. So it made it easy to look for hours upon hours upon hours online, learning. Whereas like I hate working out and I hate fitness. For 30 minutes, you can't get me to go to the gym, right? Unless I really, really have to. So I was not motivated. But when it came to a passion, because I was so passionate, I was willing to put in those hours and watch those YouTube videos.
And that passion came from heartbreak, is what you're saying, which
Unfortunately.
happens to a lot of guys,
Yeah.
right? So maybe if that didn't happen,
Who knows, right, babe?
you would have been at Starbucks maybe still.
It was the best blessing I ever had. honestly.
So in terms of the trading, you were day trading at the time, or just kind of like whenever you had a moment, sort of making a trade and seeing what happens.
Yeah, so back then I was really naive. I didn't really know what day trading was. I thought that the only way to get involved into the market was investing. The Warren Buffett, all these people,
Yeah,
you
okay.
buy and hold. So I thought like that was the only way to make money in the stock market, and it didn't really make sense to me. But through research, I discovered day trading. So yeah, I was getting there trading from like 9:30 to 4, looking at the top percentage gainers. But I was, like I said, just random throwing darts. I didn't have a
Yeah.
strategy. And like I said, when I started, I just kept losing money because every stock I bought went straight down. I was too late to the party.
Yes.
I was just where, you know, all these like pump and dumps that happen.
Yeah.
I was at the tail end of every pump and dump and I didn't even know. I
Yes.
didn't even know.
Okay.
True. You're just finding out late, and
I was finding out late. I just didn't know.
And then so you say year 3, you start making money.
I was making about like $100 a day.
Okay. And what are those and like what do those trades look like? Are you just shorting at that point?
I was just shorting at that point. I was just shorting at that
Interesting.
point.
Okay.
So what I would do is like I had like a very, very basic strategy. So like what I would do is I would look at the chart, like technical analysis. I would look at the daily chart, and every time I would see a stock that like goes up and comes down in the same day in the past, I would be using that to help predict the future. So I would only exclusively look for charts that would go up and come down in the past, go up and come down in the same day.
Okay.
I would short those, and then that's kind of what led to having something that was repeatable. I was waiting for that pattern to show up, and then that's what I was executing on. And over the years, I discovered new patterns, new trades, and that's kind of what elevated it from just having one singular pattern to having a pattern that potentially could show up every day in the market.
And you see that, I think that right there, and it definitely is appropriate when it comes to trading, is like you weren't just falling in love because you were seeing like a tweet like, oh, this thing's gonna go crazy, bro, hop on. You're like, I don't care if I see this pattern, it could be for any company, like any stock, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna jump on it, at least give it a go.
Correct. When I first started, I was doing that. I
Yeah,
was the guy
yes.
praying and hoping. Like I was the guy buying like stocks that were like 2 cents, and I was like sleeping and dreaming like if this shit goes to $1, I'm gonna buy myself a Lambo. But in reality, it went like a penny, and then like a tenth of a penny, and like
Yeah.
it went down and down and down. So
Yeah.
I did that when I started, which I
Okay.
think is like part of the learning curve for any new trader.
Sure, absolutely.
and then you had I guess you were working part-time this whole time,
Part-time.
the first 3 years?
Part-time.
Still at Starbucks?
Part time. Yep.
When do you finally say goodbye to Starbucks?
My first $100,000 day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you waited for a big time.
It took me. That probably took me by the 4th year.
Because even when you're doing like you said, the $100 a day, I feel like guys would be like, okay, like I'm good. Like I could just focus on this. But
For me, it felt like nothing. It
For
felt
real?
like nothing. Even now, the money I make now feels like nothing.
And then did you have a goal at that point as to like, okay, where can I take this? Like, where do I want to take this? Did you have a goal at that point?
I think my goal was just to make like a couple $100,000 a year.
Okay.
I didn't really think that I would be the type of trader that makes millions of dollars a year. I never thought that could be me. True. So my goal was just like, if I can make a couple 100,000, like that's good.
And live off this, and
that's all I need.
Yeah. And you were on your own at that time. You didn't have anyone working with you, partners, nothing like that.
No. So I was alone for my first couple years. And then what ended up happening is there's like this annual traders convention in Las Vegas. And I just turned 21. And what ended up happening is I wanted to go to this event because at that point, I think it was either year 2 or year 3, somewhere around that time, I had a pretty solid day. I might have made like a couple $1,000s or something like that. So there was this annual traders convention going around, and like I knew most of the traders that were going from like Twitter and like social media. So I told my dad, like, hey dad, like I want to go to this event in Las Vegas. Like I just turned 21. He's like, no, it's a scam. Like you're going to lose all your money. It's a scam.
Wow.
So what ended up happening is in 2008, my dad lost a lot of money in the real estate crash because he held a lot of stocks.
Okay.
He had like Netflix at like $50 and he sold at $40. Now it's $650.
Yeah.
He had like Facebook at like, I don't know, maybe like $50, $60. Now it's at $400 something.
Yeah.
So when 2008 happened and his retirement got destroyed, he's like, stocks are a scam. Fuck this shit. It sucks.
It's
it
trauma,
sucks. It sucks.
yeah, for sure.
So he's like, what are you going to go to this event for? Like, it's a waste of time, waste of money, whatever. I was like, I really want to go. He's like, I'm going to come with you to show you that it's a scam. I was like, all right, great. So he came with me, went to the event, and it wasn't a scam. It was actually legit. The people that went there were like really big time traders. Okay. And there was one trader that stood out. It was like this Asian dude, and he showed a chart on the screen of him making like $500,000 a month and only having like 3 or 4 red days in the entire year. My dad's like, this guy is like the smartest guy here. Like he seems like he knows like what he's doing. Like this guy like seems like he's a real deal. And I'm like 21 years old. I'm still a kid, 21, 22. And at the end of the event, I went up to him and I was like, hey man, like thanks like for the presentation. Like I follow you on Twitter. Like you've been like a really big help. Like thanks. He's like, oh, cool kid. Like whatever. Turns out after like a little bit of time, we became friends organically.
Nice.
He was good at something called technical analysis, which is the study of charts. And I was better at fundamental analysis, which is the study of filings. So we took his strength, which is charts, my strength, which was fundamentals. We brought it together and we just started being friends. Okay. He ended up going through a nasty divorce, which brought us even closer together. And then ever since then, we've been friends forever. We started My Investing Club together, and he was kind of my first real mentor to teach me the ropes of trading.
Mm-hmm. And do you think as a trader, it was important that you had a mentor at that
100%.
point? Yeah.
100%.
What are some things that you would say you learned from him right off the go?
Yeah, so a big thing that I learned is he was doing it for, right now he's been doing it for about 20 years. So back at the time, he was doing it for about 10 years longer than me. Okay. And what he would do is he would make money every single day, every single morning, and then he would get bored and gamble it away trading for the rest of the day. So he would make like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 by like 10, 11 a.m. And between 11 to 4, he'd be like, fuck, I'm so bored. Like, I'm just going to keep trading. And it would end up losing money. He was in the California time zone. So what would end up happening is he would be done trading at like 10 a.m., 11 a.m. New York time, which is what, like 9 or 10 or 9 a.m. California time.
Yeah.
He'd be like, dude, like none of my friends are awake. Like I wanted to like go to the bar. Like I want to do something. No one's awake. Everyone's going to work. Yeah. He's like, instead of going to the bar and instead of like hanging out with the friends, like I'm just going to keep trading. So he would lose money. So what I did is I said, wait a second. If this guy is losing an extra $2,000 every day after 10 a.m., $2,000 divided by, multiplied by however many trading days in the year is $500,000 a year. Wow. He's pretty much gambling away $500,000 a year because he's bored and all of his friends are at work. Mm-hmm. So I said, if I just trade in the morning the same way he does, and instead of gambling away my winnings, just walk away at 10:30, I'll be more profitable.
Yeah.
And that, number one, is what led to so many more profits because I wasn't gambling away my money.
Yeah.
The analogy that I give people is like, imagine you go to a casino and you make money in the casino. Do you make more money the longer you sit at the tables or when you walk away from the table?
Yeah, walk away.
So what he was doing is he would make his money and still sit at the tables. Whereas what I would do is take that money, get up, and walk away. Yes. And that right there would save me an extra $500,000 a year. Wow. But he's so rich that he doesn't care.
He didn't care.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He'd rather pay for that entertainment. For him, $2,000 is extra entertainment.
Yes. So you kind of learned like discipline in that
discipline.
regard.
I learned like how to read charts better because he was very good at that. I taught him how to read company filings better.
Okay.
And plus, like he's a lot older than me, so he's been through life. So he knows like just a bunch of different things. Like he knows like different, like how to handle business.
Okay.
He knows how to handle like just networking, because I'm still a kid at that point. I'm in my low 20s. And like as a 20-year-old, you think you know the world, but you don't really know anything. But him at the time, he was in his late 30s, 40s. So he's been experiencing life through a different lens. And that taught me, I guess, the older brother or father figure that I never had, because I'm the oldest in my family.
Okay.
So that was kind of like a mentor and a life coach, I would say.
Okay. And can you explain the difference between the filing aspect and the chart reading for like beginners out there?
Sure. So great question. So technical analysis is the study of patterns. So what ends up happening is when a stock moves in a certain price, the price gets plotted on a chart.
Okay.
And what ends up happening is history tends to repeat itself in the market. So if you see a stock that ends up, like I said, when I first started, a pattern that it comes up and comes back down, the pattern usually repeats itself. Also, robots, algos, need to be programmed on something. So what they're all programmed on is technical analysis. So if you could understand how to read a chart, you'll understand how these robots and algos trade. Okay. I would say I think 90% of participants in the market are robotic participants. Wow. And only 10% are humans.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's all algos these days. It's all algos. And with AI, these things are getting smarter and smarter and smarter. They're getting like, I would say in the past, like ever since the pandemic, I would say the acceleration of the knowledge of these robots is getting a lot better, which makes someone like me, a human participant, less of an edge. Because I want more humans to trade against, not more robots.
Yeah.
So when COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and every single human was trading in the market, you would just clean up. You would clean up because people were uneducated.
Oh, so it was you cleaning up on the back
end. It was me,
end.
yeah. It was people like me.
We'll get there. I want to ask
people like me.
I want to ask you this question.
Sure.
When you had the $100 day and you quit, so I want to get back to the trajectory of the story. So how does that, like, just walk us through that? Walk us through your mindset on making $100,000 in one day. How the fuck did it happen? The whole thing.
So I don't even think these stocks are even trading anymore because they got delisted.
Okay.
That's the type of companies I find. I find the worst companies in the world. So like you know how Warren Buffett finds the best companies in the world and bet that they go higher? I find the worst companies in the world and bet that they're going to go lower.
Okay.
So my claim to fame on that $100,000 day was a company called Dry Ships, DRYS. I don't even think it's trading anymore. So this was a shipping company. And what ended up happening is it ended up getting pumped up from like $1 to like $120 in like a week.
Wow.
Company was like near bankruptcy. The CEO of the company, George Ikinamu, whatever, is some Greek guy, pretty big scammer, and it just ended up going up like crazy. I think they're in the dry bulk shipping sector. And what ends up happening is whenever one of these stocks goes up, there's something called sympathy plays. So there's new stocks that are in the same sector that have nothing to do with this company that end up going in sympathy because people are like, let me look for the next one. Let me be early to the next one. True. So you got a lot of these sympathy plays like TOPS or SHIP that were all running in sympathy to this DRYS stock. And there was a pattern that I've been monitoring for a very long time, which is something called the first red day. It's the same pattern that I still use to this day and my most profitable pattern. And basically what the pattern is if you see a stock that goes up at least 1,000% over a minimum of 3 to 5 days without going red, the first day that it goes red is the day that it crashes. So you see a parabolic chart go from like 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, 20 to 30, 40 to 50. It has not gone red once. The first day that it goes red, it ends up tanking because that triggers profit taking.
Yes.
Okay. All the people that have been in early or all the robots, they end up
taking their money,
selling when the company goes red. So what ended up happening is I was monitoring dries for that first red day setup, and the stock ended up getting halted. They froze trading on it. It was such a big scam that they froze trading. When they ended up freezing trading on it, there was all these sympathy plays that ended up crashing. Because if the main head of the snake, dries, crashed, then all these other ones are up on nothing. If the main one crashes, the side ones follow. So as soon as that halt happened, and as soon as those other stocks, TOPS, SHIP, and whatever other sympathy plays there were, I hit the short button for as much as I could, and the stocks ended up collapsing like 50, 60% in one day, and that was my first $100,000 day. Nice. I was probably up 80,000 And I was like, listen, bro, I'm going for the 100. I'm going for the 100.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, don't. He's like, don't. Just like, take your money. Because like what happens in trading is like you go for more and
That's
the
when you
reverse
lose.
happens. The
That's
reverse
when you
happens. He's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Do it.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it. I'm going for it. And then I ended up making 100,000.
Wow. And what's your reaction to that? Is that the most money you've seen in one?
That was the most money I've ever seen one
What
day.
was the biggest prior to that?
Maybe like 30,000 in one day.
Okay, so it's a big difference.
Big difference. Maybe triple.
Wow.
It felt good, man. It felt good, but like that is kind of I think what really started like having me say like I think I could actually do this.
Yeah.
Like I think I could actually do this.
Okay.
And like that one pattern, like I said, is still working to this day. It's still my biggest setup, and like that pattern is actually what led to my biggest day ever. Like I think it was last year, the year before. So
you're kind of looking at it, okay, random stock starts flying up. Now you're like, okay, you're interested. Now you're looking for similar stocks that are
Correct.
moving the exact same way. Sympathy
sympathy
plays.
the sympathy plays on no relative news or no
Could be
relative
just
reason.
completely random.
They're also in the shipping sector.
Just because they're in the same sector
Correct.
and people are trying to catch it.
They're trying to catch a new one.
Yes.
They missed the first one and they're trying to catch a new one.
Okay, so, and that's on the chart side.
Chart side.
And then, okay, so on the filing side, is there anything you look for a
So-
company like that?
Correct. So on this example of Dries, company was like near bankruptcy.
Okay.
They had like less than a month left of cash. The company's burning money left and right. And the only way that they're able to raise money is to sell stock. And when you sell stock on the open market, you increase the supply of stock, which brings the price down. It's like supply and demand. So if you have lower supply
Okay.
and higher demand, price goes up. Higher supply, lower demand, price goes down. So when you keep inserting shares and shares and shares into the market, the company makes money, but the shareholders lose.
Yes.
So that is the only way that this company was able to make money. So I knew that if it ever got to the point where the stock ended up exploding the way that they did, management would be smart enough to raise money. So that's what all these companies do at the end of the day. Their end game is to raise money because they're small companies, they're development companies, they're still trying to like get their shit together.
Yeah.
And the best way for them to raise money is to sell stock on the open market.
Okay, so was this like your main recipe to making money at that point? Was there other
That was
patterns that you used to look at? Or
There was a couple other patterns, like the one I said where spikes up and spikes down, but like that was nowhere near as profitable as this because those never ended up going so parabolically like this pattern did.
And
Okay.
this pattern, is it something that you figured out on your own? Was it part of a conversation, some sort of mentor? How did you learn this
This was a
pattern?
pattern that Bao was using back in the day.
Okay.
This is a pattern that he was
Okay.
using back in the day. And he was making a lot of money using this pattern. But I guess I would say I took it to the next level because he was confident in it and it was working. But for some reason, Bao was like a little bit more conservative. He'd rather, he doesn't want to risk. He would rather make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a day every single day rather than going for 100,000, 200,000, 300,000 unless there's a big opportunity, which he made. I think it's the historic trade on record for the highest retail trade in one day, which was $1.4 million in one day, not as a hedge fund trader. So with his own capital. So
You know exactly what it was?
it was Fannie Mae, FNMA. FNMA.
Interesting.
and these patterns, I guess, like when that $100,000 day happens, right? Are these patterns happening often?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So during COVID, when everyone was back at home, I would say it was happening about every other month. So maybe about six times a year, 7 times a year.
Okay.
Now it's probably about 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
Depending on the action. Like this year, we're about 6-7 months into the year. We've probably had maybe maximum 2 of those first red days happen.
Okay.
I guess the reason, because I want to explain this to people, is that the reason it was happening so much during COVID was because there was so many retail traders.
Correct.
People who had no fucking idea of what was going on were just catching on to these sympathy plays and trying to catch the next one. Now that the retail trading has died out, like you said earlier, you're playing against now almost robots in a sense. So those are a lot harder to come by.
Correct.
But I think that's important. And I think anybody listening is like, now you got to be more patient. It's not necessarily that you're finding these all the time, but when you find them,
Yeah.
hammer them.
And you better hope you don't screw it up.
Yeah.
You better hope you don't screw it up.
Okay.
There was one this year that I did pretty well on, and one this year that I barely did good on. Like, so it really just depends. Like sometimes like you might be, because you haven't seen it in so long, you're out of practice.
Okay.
It's like you haven't seen it in like 6 months or a year. You're like, I don't know if this really fits the pattern. Like, I don't know if I should be as aggressive. Like,
Start second guessing yourself a bit.
Start second guessing yourself. Yeah.
True. So you have the $100,000 day. That's when you officially quit all other jobs.
Correct.
And go full force. So what was next for you after that point?
Next for me was just continuing to do what I was doing at that point.
True.
It was just making sure that like I was being disciplined, making sure that I didn't let it get to my head, making sure that I didn't buy myself a new car immediately and like waste
Which a lot
the
of
money.
people would do.
Yeah, I'd rather just like, now this was the point where I was like, all right, I could do this. Let's see how far I could take it.
What's your dad saying at that point?
At that point, he believed it. At that point, he believed it was legit. At that point, he was like, all right, like I get it. Like,
Yeah.
this makes sense now.
Well, yeah, it's
So
big.
you were at SMB Capital, right?
Correct. Yeah, that was after.
That was after.
That was after.
Right? So when does that happen? When do you kind of join that team, join that company?
So that's actually
And
really
why?
funny.
Because I guess you're making money at that point too.
Yeah, so I ended up going on a podcast called Chat with Traders, which is like a pretty big like trading podcast, and I ended up giving a podcast there, and that was right after that like $100,000 day. So it just so happened by fate, like coincidence, whatever, like I was on the, like it was scheduled, and by the time the scheduling happened, like that's when that day happened. So long story short, I do the podcast, and then I get a call, I don't know, a couple months later from the podcast host. He's like, hey, I have this guy. His name is Mike Bellafiore. He wants to know if like you'd give him like your email address. Like he just like wants to talk to you. I was like, I never heard of this guy before. Like, who is he? Like, sure, like whatever. Like, I don't care. Okay. So he emails me and he's like, hey, like I run this proprietary firm called SMB Capital. Like I was wondering if you'd be interested in like giving a talk to our traders. We loved your podcast. Like we thought it was awesome. Like, would you mind like giving a talk? And at that point, I'm like very naive. I'm like, if you get me a steak dinner, I'm down. He's like, sure, like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I went to their office in New York, and I've never been at like a professional like Wall Street firm. So like it was a really cool experience for me. So sit down and just give a talk about like my history. Like they asked me some questions, and the interview goes like viral on YouTube. It gets like 6-7 million views. So like it went like really crazy. And then I get an email, I guess like maybe 2 or 3 days after, and they're like, wow, like we were like so blown away by your talk. Like we really like what you're talking about. Like, would you be interested in like trading at our desk for like a little bit? And I was like thinking at that point, like it's always been like a dream of mine to like be a professional Wall Street trader. And like, here's this amazing opportunity where like it was essentially just like handed to me to try. And I was like, sure, let me do it. I don't know what this world is about. I don't know anything about like, you know, professional Wall Street trading. I've been trading in my pajamas for like the past couple of years. Like, let's try it. Like, let me at least cross something off my bucket list. So I get there, and there was a couple of people that knew me from like Twitter, social media, and like, oh, like you should sit next to this trader. You should sit next to that trader. So they ended up sitting me next to what I would say probably even to this day, the best trader I've ever seen in my entire life.
Really?
So he's like not really public. He doesn't like to talk. So like, I'm not going to reveal his name, but he was at the time making or losing like $100,000 a day. Really calm, really cool, really collected. It's like they made this guy in a test tube. He was doing everything right, like every single thing that he was, and he was short bias as well. So he was making money on the short side. So I think one big lesson that I learned from him that like really, really like is like elite level trading is like, number one, he was always early to the office. Number two is he was actually amazing at the point. So he would be trading like 10 or 15 different stocks at the same time with like a soccer game here, a football game here, and like eating a bagel here. And like, I've never seen anything like that in my entire life, bro. These are like multi-million dollar positions that he's like trading at the same time. And for like context, I only trade like 1 or 2 positions like at a time. This guy was doing like 10, 15 positions. So he was very, very like just plugged in. So what he was doing differently than most people is like, we had an in-house trading psychologist. So I don't know if you've ever seen the show Billions with like Wendy Rhodes, like it's like their psychologist. Mm-hmm. So he was going and seeing the in-house psychologist, the trading psychologist, like as much as possible. He was doing daily reviews of his trades every single day after his trading was done. He was reviewing it and like multiple pages of reviews. And like the number one thing that he did is like when he was wrong in a trade, no matter what, he would not like wait it out and like see like what's gonna happen. He would just get out.
True.
That.
Take the L
like
and
that.
just get
like
out.
Just better than anyone I've ever seen. Like I can't do that, dude. I've been doing it 10.5 years, and I'm like, let me just see what happens.
There's no like emotional attachment.
He's so good, bro. He's so good. So like, at the time, he was probably making like, I don't know, like $3-4 million a year. And then I ended up leaving the firm because I was like, you know what, like for me, like I got into trading because like I wanted to have freedom.
Okay.
So like I felt like I kind of lost a lot of my freedom, like being on like a regimented schedule, like kind of like dressing up a little bit better. And like for me, like my strategy was working from like 9:30 to 10:30. And what they would do is they would want me to trade like all day and like find new strategies, this and that. But I kind of felt that like a little bit daunting. Like I felt like I lost that freedom. So I ended up leaving and whatever. So after I left is when the whole meme stocks and all this crazy shit happened. And that trader went from making $3 to $5 million a year to making $10 to $15 million a year. So he just exploded higher, just like, and he's literally the best of the best. I've never seen anyone better than him. He's like still someone, like I was naive at the point. I was still a kid. Like I didn't really know like how good he really was until I left. And I was like, oh shit, like this is the guy that was sitting right here, like literally right next to me. So
wait a minute. Before we continue, a trading psychologist.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
yeah.
What the fuck is a
That's the first
trading
time I've heard of that.
psychologist? I've never heard that before in my life.
Okay, so that's okay. So trading is really mental. Like I consider trading a mental sport, not a physical sport, mental, because you're using your brain and in like split seconds, you have to make a decision that'll determine like if you make or lose 10, 20, 100,000, $1 million in like a few minutes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, it's really mentally daunting. Like when you have a good day, you get like a dopamine boost. When you have a bad day, you're depressed, you're sad, you're doubting everything, you're like really upset. You have to be able to determine if this stock is a first red day that you're going to size up on, or if it's one that doesn't really fit the pattern. You have to make all these like decisions in like a very short period of time, and like it really screws with your head. Okay. So having a trading psychologist is someone that you could actually just talk to about your trading, someone that's work with traders that are much better than you, and using the tips of those other traders to help kind of fix your brain a little bit. Okay. So imagine like instead of going to like a relationship coach, you're going to a trading coach. So my trading coach was a guy named Brett Steenbarger. He's like the #1 trading coach. And what happened is the fund that I was working at had him on payroll. So I didn't have to pay anything. Nice. You know, normally he'll charge like $10,000 an hour, but like you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay for that. And he would work with a big firm with Paul Tudor Jones. He's like this big, like billionaire hedge fund, that guy. And his traders at minimum would be managing $100 million. So he was working with those traders, and the lessons that he learned from those traders, he would come bring to us. He would take our little lessons, take it to them, because like you could learn everything from like all different types of people. You know, you might have a guy that only makes like $10,000 a year, but his strategy, maybe he's not expanding it more. Maybe he's not like risking more. Maybe he's got something good, but he himself doesn't know how to unlock it. So like, it's like a little bit of a give and take. And for me, there's doctor-patient confidentiality. So you could tell him anything and everything. So like I would go to him and tell him like, hey, look, like I'm having trouble with this, like because of XYZ family issue. Or like, hey, I'm having something's going on here. And he's like, oh, it's because of XYZ. So having that, I guess like that coach, that psychologist, that doctor to fix your brain. Yeah. Almost helps better than like anything else, because like it's the same thing as having a coach for like your physical body. There's someone that could take your athletics to the next level. There's the same way someone that could take your mental and your trading to that next level.
True.
That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. I don't think many people, especially if you're not in the space, like, or even if you are somebody who is doing this from home, like you don't even realize that.
It makes sense.
These funds are hiring these guys on payroll.
Big time. They make millions and millions of dollars.
Wow. Such a high stress environment.
Big time. Massive stress.
So when you're at SMB, I have a question. Like, how does that work? You're trading with their money.
Trade with their capital.
And then you're taking a commission.
And you take a profit split.
True. So you're not using your money anymore at that point.
No, at that point, I'm not using my money. At that point, I think they gave me about, I think it was like $5 or $10 million to play with. And I would take, again, 50% of my profits. And based on how much profit you make, they give you like an accelerator. So like if you make $500,000 a year, you make 50%. You make $1 million a year, you get 60%. You make $3 million a year, you get 70%. So I have things a lot of things have changed since then.
Okay.
But yeah, the more money you make, the more of a percentage you keep.
Was there any kind of like lessons you took from that experience itself that allowed you to kind of go off and do your own thing?
Yeah, there was lessons, but I was so naive at the point that I really didn't even understand what I was learning. Like the fact that I had a trading psychologist like on demand, crazy, and I only saw him once a week is stupid by me.
True.
The fact that I had a multimillionaire trader sitting a few feet away from me and like I didn't ask him more questions is stupid for me. The fact that I had other traders doing other strategies, like shit that I've never even heard of, like imbalance trading or like options trading, futures trading, and I never really like had a conversation with them because maybe I was like nervous, like is all regrets because like at the time, like I was the new kid on the block, like I didn't really know much and like I was definitely not making the most money there. So here I am, like a guy that's making less money than all these big dogs and I'm thinking in my head, they're going to shoo me away. But it was my fault because they were not like that.
True.
They were not like that.
True.
It was me.
Okay.
I was the problem. I should have been more outgoing. I should have put myself out there more.
Okay.
So you leave and you leave in the midst of this meme stock.
I left right before it started.
Okay.
I probably left like less than a year before the pandemic started.
Wow.
Okay. And then walk us through how life changes for you at that moment, because based off of the strategies that I'm understanding you really focused on, that just seemed like you struck gold in that time.
Yeah. So while I was at SMB Capital, like probably towards the tail end of it, that's where Bao and I, my mentor, started My Investing Club. So we were making pretty decent money. And it got to the point where like we were making money, he was making money, I was making money, but like we didn't really feel like fulfillment. We didn't really feel happiness. Like he just got like recently divorced. Like I didn't really have like a girl in my life and like we had all this money and I was just like, what the fuck is the point, dude? Like I'm just like, why am I working all day long for like nothing? And then we had the idea, the same way that he was able to change my life, why don't we try to change other people's life and try to find fulfillment and happiness in helping other people? And that's how we started My Investing Club. So that's when we started. And then pandemic happens. And at first we're like, what the hell is going on here, right? Yeah. Because when the pandemic happens and the entire world shuts down, the stock market just crashes, just goes straight down, straight down, straight down. And like, I didn't know what that was like. I'm like thinking in my head, like, oh shit, what the hell is going on? Because like at that point, like no one knew what the pandemic was. They thought, oh, some people are like, it's not real. Some people this, that, the other thing. And then when they shut down the world, that's when like really everything changed. Because at that point, what Trump did is he brought on zero interest rates. He made cash free.
Yes.
And what ended up happening is when he made cash free, all these big time companies started borrowing money at 0%. You have companies like, I don't know, Facebook, Google borrowing 50 billion, 100 billion at a 0% interest rate, and they just keep it in cash. Yeah. They don't know when they're going to need it, but they're just going to keep it. Yeah. And what ends up happening is everyone gets a stimulus check. So the entire world is shut down. Every business is closed except one. The stock market.
Nice.
So everyone takes all their stimulus money and puts it into the stock market. And then that's what creates that V-shaped rebound where things are going crazy. And then all of a sudden, you get all these abnormal, astronomical moves of stocks going from $1 to $10 to $50 to whatever, because no one knows what they're doing. They're just buying stocks and buying stocks and buying stocks. But the pattern cannot last forever. It's like if you throw a ball up in the air, eventually at a certain point, it freezes and comes back down. Nothing could go up forever. Yeah. And that's what ended up happening on a lot of these small cap stocks is they would go straight up, straight up, straight up. And no one knew that they could come crashing back down just as fast as when they started. And that's where it started to have like multi-million-dollar years. That's where GameStop happened, AMC happened, Bed Bath & Beyond happened. And those were just like, those were the tickers that like, I think I could confidently say I made the most amount of money in my career on AMC, GameStop, and Bed Bath & Beyond.
So you made money on those stocks on the way short side.
On the way down.
Okay. So walk us through that for anybody. Obviously, everyone looks at those stocks and thinks, oh, bro, I bought it at $10 and I sold it at 100. I bought it at 10. I sold it at 50. But no one talks about the guys who made money on the way down.
So all the meme stock people, they hate people like me because they're like, oh, you're like an evil short guy. You're evil this, evil that. But like the problem is you can make money on both sides. Why not learn how to make money on both sides? If you only knew how to buy stocks, well, when 2021 and 2022 happened and the stock market went straight down, you'll be losing all your money. Yeah. But I know how to make money on buying and I know how to make money on shorting. I have two different ways to make money. Mm-hmm. But back to GameStop. So what ended up happening on GameStop, everyone knows the story. Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, he ended up saying, you know, this stock is going to be a major short squeeze candidate. The company has XYZ, I'm going to buy it. And the stock ends up exploding up. Goes from like, I think they did a stock split, but pre-split, I think it went from like $4 to like $400, something abnormal. And everyone was in on it, right? And I was in Miami at that point because it was pandemic. My brother just moved here. We were living right over there. And I would go to the club and people would be holding GameStop, like
Yeah.
the GameStop,
I remember those.
AMC, GameStop. I'm like, oh my, like it's crazy. So, the way I made money on those on the way down is the same thing. The first red day, that they came down, the first red day. But there was a unique scenario in GameStop. I don't know if you guys remember. Robinhood turned off the buy button.
Yes.
I remember that.
The exact moment they turned off the buy button, I hit the short button.
Okay.
Short, because you could only start selling. You can't buy. So it created a cascading effect. Stock went from like 400 down to like 100. And I made, I think, like $350,000 in a day. And then what ended up happening the next day after, it ended up bouncing and failing. I made like another $150,000, $200,000 in a day. And then a couple months later, AMC happened. AMC, that stock went from like 5 to 70. And they had something called an at-the-market offering. So they sold stock to raise cash. It happened pre-market around 7 a.m. before anyone else was awake. I was awake. I caught it. Stock went from 70 down to 20. At that point, that was my biggest day. I think I made like $700,000 in one day.
Oh my God.
And then fast forward a couple months later, Bed Bath & Beyond went crazy. I actually have a trade recorded on YouTube of me making $150,000 on that stock from beginning to end before anything. So that was 150. And then when Russia invaded Ukraine and all these oil and gas companies went up, there was a stock called INDO that went from 5 to 70. First red day went down to 35. That was another $700,000 day.
Holy
so I'm still seeking that $1 million day. I haven't had the $1 million day yet, but I'm like,
It's coming.
I'm looking for.
Is that your biggest 700,000?
700,000 in one day is my biggest. Yeah.
Wow.
And how are you calculating your risk and like deciding how much to put down?
So great question. It depends on the setup, right?
Okay.
So when it comes to something like AMC and GameStop, I felt like the risk was more towards the short side when they shut off the buy button. That almost was like an asymmetric, like the shit's gonna crash. Like how does it not crash at that point? Or AMC, when they're releasing a massive toxic offering and the stock is already up 1,000%, when it crashes, that to me is asymmetric size up.
Okay.
It actually happened earlier this year on GameStop. Do you guys remember Roaring Kitty came back
on Twitter
and he did the live stream?
Yes.
So when he did the live stream, that's something called a sell the news setup. So what ends up happening is he announces the live stream and GameStop runs up from 30 to like 60.
Okay.
And then after he does a live stream, because the catalyst is over, it becomes a sell the news setup and stock crashes. And I think I made like maybe like 100,000, and that was a couple months ago on that setup.
Yeah.
So there's certain opportunities where you want to go on bigger. Also, you want to make sure you have money in your account. So for me, what I do is whenever I have like a really, really big day, I pull out the money and I put it into my bank account. I don't want to have all the money in my stock trading account because that's a risk. One wrong move, one wrong day, one bad day where I go on tilt, I could fuck it all up and I don't want to do it because I've done it in the past.
Okay.
So I wire out money. The problem is that if you wire out money and the opportunity comes and you don't have enough money in your account, you screw yourself.
You can only act on whatever you have available.
Screw yourself, yeah. So when I had that $700,000 day, I probably had $500,000 in my account.
Okay.
But on the GameStop day this year, I probably had $100,000 in my account.
Okay.
So although your account is doubling, which is like on those opportunities, fuck man, if I had the hedge fund money of $5, $6, $7, $10 million, I could have made multi-millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So that's what stops me sometimes is you have to determine like, would you rather have more risk in your day trading account or would you rather have more money in your bank account? And for me, as I've been doing it 10 and a half years, I'd rather have more money in my bank account.
True.
I've been through the ups and downs. Yeah, there's still certain opportunities where I see people making millions of dollars in a day. But then I remind myself, did they have 10 million in their account? Did they have 20 million in their account? Did they have 100 million? I don't know.
Yeah.
So then I get pissed and then I'm like, wait a second, like, I don't need that risk. I don't need that risk.
It's it's even like, I think you could compare it to gambling. It's like these guys, they win a parlay, they win a bet and they keep the money in. And like, dude, if you keep the money in, 9 times out of 10, you're going to risk it all to some extent or a large amount of it. So you're looking and saying like, no, fuck that. I'm taking my money out. I'm keeping a certain amount in and I'll risk what I'm comfortable, quote unquote, losing.
Correct.
In a way. So do you have a number of like how much you keep in your account regularly?
Yeah. So what I do now is I probably keep like around $50,000 in the account, because the way it works in the United States is your brokers give you 4 times leverage. So for every dollar, they give you $4 to trade with. Okay. So for a $50,000 account, I could trade with 200, which is plenty of money on all these small cap stocks. So that's for me. What I do is I take it 50. If I make like 60, 65, 70, I'll wire out like a paycheck of like 20,000, right? Sometimes I let it grow. If like the market's hot and like the plays are continuing to happen, I let it grow and grow and grow. But like sometimes that could end up hurting me, because Bao taught me something called the cushion game. And he's like, let's say you have $100,000 in your account and you lose like 25,000, 30,000, I still got 70. But if you have a $50,000 account and you lose 25, 30, you're like, shit, I got 20 left. Like, I'm not going to risk it. Yeah. So the more money you have in your account, the lazier you get, because you're like, fuck it.
Yeah, it's okay. I got another 50.
Yeah, screw it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? True. So like, to me, I'd rather keep my accounts less and like just be more consistent, because I found that the more consistent I am in my trading, the happier I am. Because at this point, bro, if I make 100,000, it's not really going to change my life. But if I lose 100,000, I'm going to be pissed. True. Yeah. I'm going to be freaking pissed. So if you reverse engineer it and you say, all right, if I make 10,000, it's not going to really change my life. But if I lose 10,000, that's also not going to change my life. So now I'm focusing on getting more happiness in my life, because I've been stressed like for years doing this, that now I'm trying to focus on making less and being happier.
Damn.
Yeah.
I think people should live by that in their general life, let alone just trading.
It requires patience too, you know,
and learning and all that stuff. Yeah. I want to get into the My Investing Club.
Sure.
I want to know, for anybody who's listening and isn't dialed in, what exactly you guys are doing there, what it takes to get involved, what they can expect if they join, just an overall breakdown of what it is.
Sure. So what we do differently is we don't accept everyone. Okay. So there's an interview process. So we want to make sure that you actually are serious about trading, because when we first started, we would get people to join and they're like, yeah, like I'm kind of into trading, I'm kind of not. And like, we have like a team of mentors and moderators that are on like full-time payroll. Like what I was telling you guys earlier is like, whatever money I make from the community, I just reinvest it back into marketing and the team. Cool. So I personally have not taken a paycheck out of the company in probably like 3-4 years, because I would rather lead by example of making money from trading rather than making money from teaching. So we have an interview process. But once you kind of get into the club, what we do is we kind of create a community of like-minded people. So like traders are like doctors, they're lawyers, they're engineers, they're smart people that want to make more money. So you get into our network of other professional, like-minded people. And on top of that is like, when I started on YouTube, there was not enough content to teach me how to trade. So we created video lessons. So what I do is I record my live trades, I commentate over them and create lessons from that. We do like webinars every week. And then on top of that, I do live trading. So if you're accepted into the community and you're accepted into our club, and like we see that you have the work ethic to be able to do this, I trade live on Zoom, on screen share every day from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. I build the watch list live. I trade live, no delay, no nothing. Wow. So that way people see me trade every single day and they see it directly, the same lessons that they're learning in the videos. They're going to be able to watch me execute that.
So people are doing that you're there every single day. They can watch it Monday to Friday.
Every day. Every single day.
That's legendary. Yeah, just that alone, I think, on top of everything.
I make money and I lose money. Yeah. I actually have, if I could find, I have a spreadsheet of all of my trades. And let me see if I could find it just to see. I don't make money every single day. So yeah, the live trading tracker. So this month so far, and I have like screenshots of everything I could maybe put on video. So this month so far, my biggest loss was 5,500 on July 9. My biggest win was 71,000 on July 15, and up 128,000 for the month. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'll show you guys. You see the bottom here? You guys could just scroll through the months if you want to see. Let's see. Scroll through the months to see.
Okay, so
and if you click the thing, it'll show the screenshot of profit.
So yeah, I break it down. June 3rd, no trade. June 4th, no trade. June 5th, 13,850. June 6th, almost $5,000. June 7th, 40 grand. June 10th, 500. 11 no trade. 12 no trade. So even on those no trade days, you're still on there and you're showing guys like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about today. But you know what? Fuck it. We're not putting any trade in.
I'll give you an example. This is actually a really good example. So my mentor Bao, he loves Asian women. No white girls, no Spanish girls, only Asian girls, right? He's Vietnamese, only likes Asian girls. So I'm gonna give you an analogy here. So let's say we're making a bet, and we're making the bet that Bao is gonna get drunk. Okay, so you win the bet. if he gets drunk. I'm gonna give you two analogies. One is he goes to Disney World. If he goes to Disney World, I would say maybe there's like a 50% chance that he gets drunk, right? But if Bao's at the club, there's a bottle of Hennessy, and there's a couple cute Asian girls with short skirts, there's like a 100% chance he's gonna get drunk. So what I wanna do in my trading is I wanna wait for those days that I see Bao at the club and bet big.
Yes.
If Bao is at Disney World, I shouldn't bet. I should have a no trade because I know that if he goes to the club, he's going to get drunk. I'm going to win that bet, and that's where I want to bet heavy on.
Okay.
So on those no trade days, I'm waiting to see if the pattern shows up. If the pattern doesn't show up, I should not risk my money because in the past, I would force trades and I would lose money. I'd be bored. I'd be trading. If I'm trading like a small cap stock, I'd be like, oh, Tesla's moving today. Let me trade Tesla, and I'd end up losing money. And after years and years and years and hundreds of thousands of dollars of losses, it's cheaper to not trade than to force a trade.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Forcing. So in the community now, how many members do you guys have?
We have about 2,000 members.
Wow.
Sick.
2,000, yeah.
And what do you think, like, what do you attest that kind of growth to? What do you think that the people like?
Strategy works.
Yeah.
Strategy works. And what we also do that's different is we host meetups around the world.
Nice.
So they get to come meet us in person, hang out with us in person.
That part's huge, the in-person.
So actually, we have an event coming up in Orlando in August. What we do is we invite all of our members out for free. They can come for free. They just pay for their hotel, pay for their flight. We pay for the venue. We pay for everything. And what we do is we have a full day boot camp. So for one day, we teach them the strategies again, live in person with all of our mentors, all of our moderators, their specific strategies in person.
Okay.
And then the next day, Bao and I trade live in front of them with our laptops. So we put our laptops projected on the screen and they get to watch us trade live.
Oh man, it doesn't get more real than
I just
that.
think it's the transparency aspect.
Yeah, it's the genuine aspect of it.
And the fact that they can watch you live every day. Is like, I feel like it's unheard of. I'm not sure in the trading community, but just in general, like any of these communities, like
No,
I know any that are like, hey, you can literally watch me do my job live every single day.
No, I've never heard.
It's a lot of pressure. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh,
It's a lot of
for sure.
pressure.
I can imagine,
It's a lot of
bro.
pressure.
It's time, it's
I can
effort, it's
imagine.
pressure, it's all that
Yeah,
stuff, right?
it's a lot
But
of
the fact
pressure.
that you're doing that, I think that accounts for a lot of the growth. That
Yeah.
they get to see you every day.
It's a lot of responsibility. And
Yeah.
like, I don't trust anyone else to do it except myself. Like we have like about 25 mentors and moderators teaching all different types of strategies, all consistent, like 6 and 7 figure traders. But for me, like, although they're amazing traders, it's a lot of responsibility to do it. And that's why I only, trust myself to do it.
And even with the amount of members, like, do you have any like cool success stories that you've heard of members of changing their lives?
So
I could
many,
imagine, right?
So many. We have one guy, Gavin, who was a train conductor, ended up quitting his job, making $300,000. We have a guy named Sonny that's been a member for 6 years and is now making like $10,000 a day. What we do is our successful members in the community, once they prove with broker statements that they become successful, we bring them on as moderators and teachers to help teach the next group of people as well.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's really
So
cool.
all of our moderators are internal, ingrown members
Yep.
that have found success
Through
through the program that end up we promote internally to moderators.
And they've bought into the vision, obviously, of the whole brand as a whole.
It works for them, and they just want to. It's like they want to spread the word. Like
Yes.
we have the problem with us is like we don't have any sexy girls. We don't brag like our fancy cars, fancy this, fancy that. We give them like legit stuff, and unfortunately, that doesn't get as much views and it doesn't get as much attention.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is when someone joins and they really see the success, they want to spread the word out because like I feel like YouTube has a shadow ban. Like in our earlier videos, we'd be swearing, cursing, this,
Okay.
that. So like our videos don't really get pushed out as much. But when they see it, they see like, holy shit, like this. What ends up happening is like a lot of people, they get scammed and then they come to us as their last shot and then they finally find success.
Wow.
So I was gonna say, like, let me ask you: is like in the interview process, obviously you want people to be legit and actually interested in doing it, but is there a criteria? Like, what if somebody's hearing this and they're like, dude, I only have $1,000 to start?
As long as you got the time to learn, that's all we care about.
Okay.
We just don't want lazy people.
Yeah. Sure.
That the criteria is it's not money, it's not wealth, it's not what family you were born to. Do you promise that once you come in, it's like a gym membership. Are you going to sign up to the gym and actually show up?
Yeah.
Right? If not, just don't waste our time. Don't waste our moderators' time, because we give you everything.
Yeah.
We give you our time. We give you anything. And the last thing we want to do is just like deal with lazy people. We make enough money trading. We make enough money like doing our own things that this is supposed to be our way of giving back. But you at least have to commit to us that you're serious about the process.
But you set a good expectation that way, I think. And a lot of the people that I think join these kind of communities or buy these kind of courses and are lazy about it, those are the people that turn around and say, oh, that didn't work for me.
Correct.
So like you're weeding that out right off the bat.
Yeah.
And talking about the fulfillment aspect, because I feel like, you know, we've had so many people sit down with us and speak about their success and what fulfills them, you know? And I feel like a lot of people get to that point where their fulfillment comes from helping others.
Correct.
You know, so how did that change your life and your perspective when you started seeing like, holy shit, like there's people changing their lives because of what I taught them?
Yeah. I mean, after a certain point of making money, like, I mean, look, I'm no billionaire. I don't have a boat. I don't have a plane, but like, I don't really care for that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as I have like a nice car, a nice house, and like the moment I realized I was rich is when I went to dinner and stopped caring about what everything cost. When you start to go to dinner and you start to say, bring 10 ounces of Wagyu, and you don't care how much it is an ounce,
Yep.
that's when you know you've made it, right?
Yep.
So for me, like, I bought the cars, I bought the watch, I bought everything. And then you're like, all right, like, is another car gonna do it? Is another watch gonna do it? No. But a story of someone that's like, hey man, like, I'm able to pay for my daughter's college now because of you, like, thank you so much. Or like,
Crazy.
hey man, like I'm able to get like my son more gifts on Christmas. Or hey, I'm able to go on vacation now because of you. Hey, I quit my job. Hey this, hey that. Like that to me brings me more happiness than anything else. Like I took a vacation, like my first vacation, like a decade, like a few weeks ago. And the amount of people that reached out to me and were like, dude, like, thank you so much for all that you do. Like, thank God you're taking some time off. I was worried about you. You know what I'm saying? So like when I get people to say stuff like that to me, it makes me feel really happy because I was like, oh shit, like the same way that I care about them, they care about me. And that kind of brings me that joy.
And I think you also, you know, and we've been doing this a lot too. We do cash giveaways. We give away $1,000 randomly. We've done it, you know, close to $50,000 now, right? And I think you also learn like the value of a dollar to other people when you become insensitive to it. You know, you could be like, you know, 10,000 for me is whatever, but then someone else makes 10,000 and you're like, holy shit, that's it's crazy what that can do for someone else.
Life changing.
It's humbling too, right?
It's funny. The way we would do it is we would literally like go somewhere around Miami, around Toronto, our hometown, and literally just hide money somewhere and post a reel and just be like, first person to come here and find this money, and then it would go crazy. Hundreds of people would start to
within minutes
try to get there, and then we were doing it so consistently that people would be prepared, like at any moment. And to his point, it'd be like always the person that got it would be like, you don't know how much this $1,000
like I needed this
helps
for
me.
rent this month,
and we're on the other side of it, like, dude, we just hid it under a rock next to this bench. You know what I mean? So it's like you really realize like that's for sure where the happiness comes from.
Yeah.
You know?
So the 71K that you made on the meme stock, the Trump, what was that? The Trump,
Yeah, it's a Trump stock. Yeah.
So walk us through that because I love that. I was like, let's go.
So crazy thing. President Trump had like the assassination attempt, whatever. So it's actually a crazy story. There's a conspiracy going around that there was a hedge fund that shorted like $400 million worth of the stock like 2 days before. So some guy, some hedge fund, they found it on Twitter. I'll try to send you guys a link, but someone shorted millions and millions and millions and millions of shares of Trump stock before the assassination attempt. So I found out about this after. So there's conspiracy that like if he did get shot, these people would have made $500 million, $1 billion when the stock went down because they shorted. But that's complete aside. So what ended up happening is when he survived, overnight trading for DJT, the stock skyrocketed. Stock skyrocketed. So the way it works is there's pre-market and after hours. Pre-market starts at 4 a.m. and after hours ends at 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. But on Sunday, some brokers allow you to trade after 6 p.m. for Monday's pre-market session. So what ended up happening is after the assassination attempt was done, traders started to buy DJT stock in the Sunday after hours and it exploded up. The reason why it exploded up is because all of the supporters are like, let me put money into the stock, because the more money they put into it, the more wealth Trump accumulates. I think he owns 70% of the company. So whatever, let's say it's worth $1 billion. His account, his equity is worth 700 million. Okay. I think it's worth 6 billion now. So whatever the math equates to. So anyway, so the stock shot up and went up in the after hour sessions like 36 or 37. And what I did is on Monday, pre-market starts at 4 a.m. So I was like, all right, if there's momentum behind this stock and people are buying it up, chances are that when the regular market hours of trading starts around like 9:30, when most people have access to trade, they'll probably be buying up the stock too, unless something changes. Okay. But because I use like a specialized broker for like small caps and that, I could trade at 4 a.m. So call it serendipity, call it chance. I couldn't sleep that night. I woke up around like 3:30, like my girl's like, what are you doing? Like, go back to sleep. I was like, let me just go to my desk, like see what the fuck's going on. Yeah. So 4 a.m. hits and immediately the stock goes from like 36 to 40. And I'm trying to buy as much as I can at 40. It goes from 40 to 46, still trying to buy. By the time I buy, it's at like 45. Stock goes up to like 52, 53, 54. And then on the chart, I saw that every time it hits 54, it ends up starting to come back down, like technical analysis. Okay. So I ended up selling my position from 45 to like 54. Made like $30,000 on that trade at like 4:18 a.m. And then what ends up happening is because the stock went up so far, so quick, it ends up kind of starting to reverse. And the same way that you could make money when stocks go up, you could make money when stocks go down. I ended up also making money when it starts to reverse. So it ended up reversing so it went from 35 to 45 to 55. And then it went all the way down to like 45 again. So I ended up shorting it around like 50, 49. Okay. Got out around 46, and I made another 35,000 there. So I made 30,000 on the way up, 35,000 on the way down. Yeah. And had I waited like another couple hours and ended up going even lower, I could have probably made like another 35,000. But it ended up going. The reason why it ended up pulling back is it went up too high, too fast. Had to pull back, consolidate, find the range, and then go back up. But I was able to make money on, and that was probably my biggest trade of the month so far.
True.
Both sides.
I saw that. That was super recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to do a little rapid fire with you now.
Sure, go for it.
All right. I think we answered the first one, right?
Yeah, fired up anyways.
We'll do it. Most you made from one day in trading?
AMC, 700,000 a day.
Insane.
Most you lost in one day of trading?
450,000.
Oh.
Yeah, it's probably, I think it was last year. Last year in April.
Oh, that hurts.
Really bad. But here's what happened, just real quick. So I ended up shorting the stock around 17, and it ended up going up like crazy. I got out around like 21, 22, 23. An hour later, it hit 100. Oh. Had I not gotten out, I would have lost $10 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you throw up that day or what?
I was miserable for a few months.
Wow.
A few months.
Was that after the 700,000 day?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like months after.
It doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter. It didn't even matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
What's one thing you could change about the past?
I wish I could change my stubbornness in getting out of losers faster. I wish I would be less stubborn and get out faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One stock you're most bullish on right now?
Tesla, big time.
Yeah?
Big time. Big time.
Long
big
game?
Time. Big time.
Okay.
Big time.
You guys heard that?
The robo-taxi. Bro, I want to buy 2 or 3 of these Optimuses, dude. You know what I'm saying?
They're sick. They're sick.
Robo-taxi, Optimus, and I don't know if you guys know this, but they also have a very big energy storage business. Okay. So they have energy storage, and as you guys know, a lot of the AI systems where they use a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big secret that not a lot of people know of is their growing energy business and energy storage business that's going to come into play big time with a lot of these AI companies.
Damn.
You heard it here.
What's your best advice for someone that's looking to leave their 9 to 5?
Don't leave your 9 to 5 until you make at least double your yearly income trading. You don't want to have one YOLO win where you make double your income. You don't want to have just one Bitcoin meme stock or meme runner change everything. you want to at least consistently over the course of a year, it doesn't have to be in a day, it doesn't have to be whatever, but make at least double your income to be able to have at least 1 year's worth of nest egg, and the rest you could trade with. So that way, worst case scenario, at least you still have a year secure, and the other rest of it you could trade. But starting out, I wouldn't take a big amount starting out because you're going to make mistakes. I would start off with as little as possible because you're going to lose as little as possible. And then once you get the hang of it, then you could kind of start to deposit more and get more involved.
Cool.
Okay.
Great advice.
Do you believe anyone out there can make $1 million a year?
In trading?
Sure.
Do I think anyone... It's tough. It's really tough. It's really tough. Because the answer is like 90% yes, but it also really depends. Are you willing to have the risk tolerance to be up or down a lot? Are you willing to put in the work and the sleepless nights of not being able to make money? Are you able to understand that there's certain patterns and certain criteria that you have to hit? So theoretically, if you're willing to do all of those, you could be successful. Can everyone do those? I don't think so. Does everyone have the discipline? I don't think so. But is it possible to learn that? Yes.
Okay, fair enough. It's a big risk tolerance side of things.
Yeah.
I think it's a discipline thing too. Like
Yeah. Both,
I know
absolutely.
people that can't lose $5, and I know people that lose $50,000 and they just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So it really just depends. It really depends. My risk tolerance is almost too much risk. I'm willing to go for it. I'm willing to go for it. I'll shoot for it. But a lot of people won't.
Fair.
Gotta have the cojones.
Yeah.
What's the most important decision you've made in the last 12 months?
Most important decision is probably going back to the fact of reducing my account size, focusing more on happiness rather than more money. That way I'm able to kind of build long-term, like, just, dude, my hair is white, my beard is getting white.
Okay,
I'm not even 30 yet. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's really stressful. And like, for me, I would rather focus on less and being more happy rather than having so much risk and trying to compete for who has the biggest bankroll in the market, because there's people, like we said, like Ken Griffin just bought a Stegosaurus for $46 million. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't compete with those people, but you're always going to be trying to push for more. And that leads to sadness because there's always someone that has more than you. Always.
Facts.
Especially in Miami. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
especially here.
I think I know the answer, but money or fame?
I'd rather have money.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people, when they're famous, they'd rather just say that, like, hey, I wish I had the money and no fame.
True.
Rather than having the fame and no money. Because a lot of people have all these followers and clout and they're broke as damn.
No, it's true.
So
It's true. It's true.
Will the stock market crash in the coming years?
I don't think so. I think the crash already happened in 21 and 22.
Pandemic.
The way it usually works is there's like 7 to 10 years of a bull run, which is up, and 2 to 3 years of a down run, which is a bear market, which I think just happened. And I think that we're kind of entering a new bull run, a new cycle of going higher because of AI. I think AI is going to propel a lot of these companies to make more money. Also, if Trump gets elected, he's going to drop the tax rate. Yeah. And if Trump drops the tax rate, companies will automatically make more profits because they're spending less on taxes. Stocks will go up. And plus, he's a businessman. He knows how to make the country wealthy.
Yeah. Make America great again.
Yeah.
Listen, before we get to our final question, we like to ask all our guests to manifest something on the show in hopes that when it comes true, we can clip it back and say that you said it here.
Damn.
Yeah. So is there anything you want to manifest for yourself, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever the timeline is?
So my dream is, you guys know Jay Leno? He's got an airplane hangar filled with cars. And like, I love cars more than anything. Like, that's like my passion, my favorite thing. So my goal, my manifestation is to have an airplane hangar filled with cars like Jay Leno.
Nice.
I like
That's
that.
my
I like Jay Leno. Before we get to the final question, we got to talk about the gift you brought us, brother. Come on, because I'm looking at this thing. It looks like money to me.
It's giving me life right now.
So you brought us this gift. If you can explain what it is, that'd be great.
So my mentor, Bao, is extremely superstitious. He's the type of guy that will wear the same underwear for a month if it means he's not having any red days.
Okay.
So he kind of made me a little bit superstitious as well. And this is a gift that he got me, and it's a karma tree, and it's the same gift that I'm getting for you guys. So this is a karma tree, and it's supposed to, the leaves are jade crystals. And when you blossom the leaves with your hand, it's supposed to like open up and like bring health, prosperity, wealth, joy. So it's just a little gift I brought you guys to hopefully bring you guys some wealth, health, prosperity, joy, and I hope you guys like it.
It's money green, baby. It fits. That's for sure.
Appreciate it a lot.
We'll let you know if it's working out for
Yeah,
us,
let me
for
know.
sure.
If it's working out a little bit too good, I'm going to have to take it back.
We won't even tell you. Should we tell him we just made another mill or what? Give him the final question.
With that being said, we are the MBH podcast, Money Buys Happiness. So I want to know if you believe money buys happiness.
I thought about this a lot before I came on, and I think the honest answer is I think it buys freedom. I don't know if it buys happiness. There's the quote, I'd rather be crying in a Ferrari than crying in like a Toyota, but like I think it brings you more freedom rather than anything else. And with that freedom, if you seek to find happiness from materials, if you seek to find happiness from helping, whatever it is, that's up to you. But I think it brings freedom more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's a tool. We like to say it's the
tool,
tool,
yeah,
right?
definitely.
It's how you use it.
Definitely.
Absolutely. My man.
Guys, you heard it all. All right.
Appreciate it.
Educate yourselves. My Investing Club if you want to learn how to stock trade at the
Yes.
highest level.
At
Okay?
the highest.
Brother, thank you for coming
Cool.
by.
Thanks
It was
for
a
having me, guys.
pleasure. Appreciate
man.
you and appreciate the gift.
Enjoy it.